Hey, good morning. This is Rebecca Simon Peter, and it is Sunday, May 24th. Welcome to Spiritual Mojo. This is 15 minutes to uplift your spirit, uplevel your consciousness, and uphold your faith. And I'm really pleased to be with you here today. So it's Memorial Day weekend. It's Sunday of Memorial Day weekend in the U.S., and it's a time for remembering. Memorial Day weekend was begun during the Civil War. It was called Decoration Day, and it was a time to remember and to decorate the war dead. And since then, it's become a federal holiday to honor the men and women who have died while serving in the military. And I do want to acknowledge all those people, all those lives, all the suffering. There's a lot of suffering. War is a lot of suffering. I'm not sure if there are really big winners in war. And I pray for the day in which war is no longer funded, needed, necessary, because we have found new ways to deal with our difficulties and our challenges. And that really starts by going within, because people who can solve their problems, handle their problems, find a way to not get offended, find a way to handle things before they get out of proportion, actually don't need to go to war. Because there are other ways of dealing things. We call that emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and I pray for a growth in that. Now, I can't ask you to do that if I'm not willing to do that, so I pray that deep within my own heart that I become a person who is more peace-seeking, more resilient, less offendable, more willing to engage people where they're at, to allow people to be together, with differing opinions, not having to have everybody think my way, and not having to get bent out of shape when they don't. That's a big thing for us right now, because there's a lot of polarization that's going on in the world. And the more bent out of shape we get by other people, the more that warlike spirit takes hold within us. And I think that's really important to take a look at that and to see, how can I become somebody who is less offendable, more amenable, and more accepting and tolerant of people around. So I appreciate all those that are here today. Thank you for being with me today on Spiritual Mojo. I invite you to put your comments in the chat window. So I want to really help us get back to the value of remembering, because that's what Memorial Day is all about. And I'd like to expand that focus from the war and war dead to remembering what the pandemic has been teaching us. So the truth is that crises generate chaos, and they generate miracles. And the COVID-19 pandemic has caused breakdowns of every sort. It's also really created breakthroughs. And the pandemic has revealed to us what is most important to us, what's most essential in our lives, in our day, the people, the activities, the quality of life. It has definitely revealed that. And I think that's true especially in the areas of God and spirituality and worship and church. And I'm just so glad that you folks are here. Thank you so much for being on. So as communities are beginning to open back up, you might be tempted to just crank up. Oh my God, everything's open. Let me get out there, shop, 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 be around people, hug, etc., etc. And it's awesome to be back around people. But I want to sound a word of caution. This is for myself as well. Before you just crank back up to the way it was, I think it's really important to ask yourself, how are you going to keep the main thing the main thing? And by that, I want you to think about when you were in sheltering in place and when things were at a slower pace, what activities, what offerings did you find were central to your life? What thought processes, what patterns? What was central and what was peripheral? What did you discover? My God, I can't live without this, or I don't want to live without this. And what did you realize? Gosh, I just didn't need to be doing that much of that anyway. So I think it's important to think about that, because in the rush to get back out there and open things up and re-engage with life as we knew it, you could lose the main thing that you discovered during the pandemic. One of the things that I discovered was the main thing for me was walking, being outside. Used to be I just hop in my car, go to work, and I started to walk. I put my backpack on. I put all my stuff in my backpack. I walked to work and I walk home. And just that being outside as the grass was starting to shoot up and the lilacs were starting to open and the daffodils were starting to open really made me feel good. And that's one of the main things that I am keeping as the main thing. Walking to work, walking home, getting on my bike, biking around, being in nature, being outside. Something else that was really important to me that I discovered was this sense of connecting with people on Zoom. Now, I'm a little zoomed out, so are you, I'm sure. But there were particular groups that I wanted to be a part of. There were particular activities that I wanted to connect with. My family is meeting every week on Zoom for a little half hour, 60-minute Zoom meeting. We never used to do that before. We do a little minute and a half check in. It's really nice. We're all scattered all over the country. Now, some of the other family members, like not the first order family members, but some of the others are joining in as well. And all of a sudden, we're much more connected as a family than we ever used to be. Some of the recovery circles that I'm a part of have been meeting online. It's been actually wonderful. Now many of us are meeting outdoors in the park. That is lovely. So you want to remember, what were the main things you discovered during the pandemic, and how can you keep those main things, the main things, even as your life is opening back up. Now, the other thing I want you to think about is not just activities, but who. Who were the people that have gotten you through? Was it a family member? Was it a friend? Was it a neighbor? Was it somebody you didn't even know but you met on one of those Zoom meetings? Was it a long-lost relative that all of a sudden you started to connect with? Was it deeply God? Who is it that has gotten you through this pandemic? When you put together the activities that have been most important to you and the people and the rituals, that's when you can say, here are the main things that I want to keep, the main things that were the main things for me in the pandemic, and I want to keep those going. Let's not lose this beautiful lesson time that we've all gained through the pandemic. I also think about how the earth has had a chance to breathe because we weren't driving everywhere, throwing up pollution, and the beautiful things that have happened around the planet because the earth has gotten to breathe, and the way that we've been able to be more connected. When I hear bird voices, bird chirping now, I think, that is one of the main things I want to keep on the top list for me is paying attention to the birds, paying attention to the stars at night, paying attention to my husband, my dog, the beauty of being outdoors, walking to work, connecting with important people on Zoom. So when you can think about all the main stuff, it's really great. Now, what's the stuff you could actually let go of? Some of you may have found that you were a little too comfortable isolating. Can I get an amen? That it was just a little too comfortable not having to talk to people or be around people. You may want to let that go and put yourself back in the flow of life. Because when we're isolating, we tend to stay up in our head. And when we're up in our head, just having conversations back and forth up here, usually not much good comes from that. We talk ourselves into resentments, we talk ourselves into pity parties, we talk ourselves into thinking we're in it by ourselves. None of that's really true. We're never alone. We always have God. We always have the Holy Spirit. We always have the inner prompting of our own inner being. We have Jesus. We have spiritual guidance. The scriptures say that there's a great cloud of witnesses. So we're never alone. But if you have isolated yourself for too long from human contact, you may get the idea that you are alone. You can handle life alone. You don't need anything. All you need is a shopping app. Not true, people. We are people. We do need each other. And so I want to encourage you to let that go, that isolation, and find ways now to connect with the people around you. Of course, you want to stay safe. You don't be sneezing and coughing on each other. I think social distancing is still quite important. I'm continuing to wear a mask in public places when I'm near other people, and trying to be respectful of the needs. I was in a grocery store the other day, and they have signs everywhere that says, please wear a mask, because the grocery store workers are at risk. And there were a lot of people in there that weren't. And they may have felt like, hey, I'm not really worried about the coronavirus. I don't need to worry about this. And that may be true for you. I do encourage you to be respectful of the people around you. This is really a time for us not to divide into camps, but to put ourselves in the shoes of the people around us and discover, all right, how can I bring out the best in the people around me? How can I help them feel safe? How can I respect their wishes and desires? How can I be a part of a common good? I think that's what the pandemic has given me most, is a sense of common good and how to keep that alive. So it was former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel who said, never let a good crisis go to waste. I think that's an important saying. Never let a good crisis go to waste. So I want to encourage you to think about, what are you going to take from this crisis? so that it doesn't go to waste? What can you put into your life, keep into your life, expand in your life, so that all the goodness of this time together continues on, it carries forth, and it blesses you, and it blesses the people around you. One of the things I've taken on during the pandemic is gratitude lists. Having gratitude lists. What am I grateful for? Finding even the smallest things. So if you haven't started a gratitude list yet, I recommend it. Every day, 5 things, and it's even better when you can then share those 5 things with someone else, because gratitude shared is gratitude multiplied, and it does raise the whole vibration of what we're all up to together. So any one of us can be a downer, any one of us can be a light, any one of us can raise the vibration, and so maintaining your own mindset. I've talked about that a lot during the pandemic. Managing your mindset is a super important way that you can be the light in the world, that you can raise that opportunity for others as well. Because you know that when you're in a bad space, everybody knows it, and when you're in a good space, people pick up on that as well. Did you know that that's true even when you're not interacting with other people? That you're still putting out a positive vibe or you're putting out a negative vibe? All of that adds up. All of that has a cumulative effect. And so be the light that shines in the darkness. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Let the Spirit of God, the Spirit of light, the Spirit of Christ shine brightly within you as you keep the main thing the main thing. So I invite you to make known your gratitudes, share them with the people around you, put them here in the chat window, and let's just get some positivity going around the life that we have, life as we know it, and the ways that we can share with one another. On this Memorial Day, I invite you to remember the positives, release the negatives, release the grief to God. God can help you with that. You don't have to handle it by yourself. We are in this together. So that's Spiritual Mojo for this week. Keep the main thing the main thing. Remember those things that you learned during the pandemic so that you can carry them forward, and be a blessing to the people around you. All right, it's been so great to be with you, and I look forward to next week. Now, next week, my parents are having a big Zoom anniversary celebration. They will have been married 63 years. It's my dad's 84th birthday, and they're going to be having a Zoom party, which I've been invited to host. And so Spiritual Mojo will be happening a half an hour later than it normally does, because I'm hosting the party. So I'm going to be on with my folks and my family around the world, and then we'll start Spiritual Mojo at 10:30 Mountain Daylight Time next week instead of 10 a.m. I will see you then. Much love to you all. Okay, have a great week. Bye.